Well, hey, life groups, hope that you are enjoying this Lent season where we find ourselves and are considering not only the Easter weekend of what Jesus did on the cross and through his resurrection, but in that, what Jesus was willing to give up for you and me and humanity together for love. And then in response, consider what we would be willing to give up for love to strengthen the relationships and the experience of love in our lives. And so coming out of a week last week where we were reflecting on giving up our self-orientation, our me-firstness, and our sense of entitlement to orient ourselves to the other in the way of Jesus. Today we're looking at Ephesians 4:25 and the giving up of falsehoods. The giving up of falsehoods to embrace a greater degree of truth. And we learned that the word falsehoods is actually the Greek word pseudos. So it's not just about giving up, the outright lying to people, but giving up all the ways that we live in false reality to embrace a greater degree of actual reality for the sake of love. And we looked at kind of 3+1 ways. We looked at the ways that we evade the truth, actually speaking it to each other, whether we're telling bold-faced lies or whether we're just exaggerating or manipulating the truth or actually omitting the truth, just staying silent instead of speaking up and sharing the truth. We evade the truth. We deny the truth in terms of either downplaying it, minimizing it, or diverting the impact we're having on our intention. Can't do that in the world of intent versus impact, and others' orientation focuses on impact instead. So we can't deny the truth. Another way is by advocating for half-truth. We talked about the dynamic of triangulation in the stories we tell ourselves and the three characters, the villain, the victim, and the hero, and how we often cement our reality in what is wholly true to us without appreciating what is wholly true to someone else and understanding the whole truth and the way that they reconfigure the characters of that story in their minds, even though we experienced the very same thing. And so as we processed evading the truth, denying the truth, and advocating for half-truth, we actually ultimately tried to camp out in the falsehood of forgetting Jesus' truth. Because often we resist and avoid truth because we let big feelings drive us, feelings like fear and guilt and shame. But in the text and in the context of that Ephesians 4:25 verse that we looked at, we learned that those very feelings are themselves deceitful. They're themselves pseudo in the sense that they're not real. What is real is God's belovedness for us and Jesus' unconditional love for us. And it's only when we're gripped by that and anchored in the context of his unconditional love that we can actually embrace and engage in those other three kinds of truth. And so in a summary, we were encouraged not just to put off falsehoods, but if we're going to put on the way of Jesus, number one, to tell the truth, number two, to face the truth, number two, to seek the whole truth, by number four, by embracing Jesus, capital T, truth in our lives, and appreciated that that doesn't just apply to people closest to us with whom we wish we had better relationships. This was intended to apply to our whole community. And so as you consider in your conversation as a life group, consider how this text hits you. Consider, where you might be most tempted to avoid living in truth, but settle for a pseudo version of life to live out falsehoods, whether it's evading, denying, or advocating for half-truth, and what it would look like for you to take a practical step of personal reflection or of actual conversation with someone, whether they're close to you or in a broader way, someone in our community, to experience a greater degree of truth, putting off falsehoods so that love can flow. This is one of the things that we want to consider in this Lent season, that we might be invited to give up, not temporarily just for Lent, but in an increasing way permanently for the sake of love, for Jesus in response to his deep love for us, out of love for one another, so that together as a community, we can experience love flowing to a greater degree. So we wish you a great conversation. Hope that you can be truthful in it and that you'll experience a greater degree of truth for the sake of love. Blessings, everybody.